Welcome back to the Back Porch View, brought to you by Appalachian Baptist Church, where the old rugged cross still makes a difference. In this week's episode, we continue our conversation on the family, and specifically the role of a mother.
You know, not every woman must become a homemaker, but those who do, I believe, should be honored and respected. There should be a clear difference between male and female in the home. And children must be valued as our most priceless possessions. The relationship with their mother is the most important association in their lives, and it ought to be given the highest social priority. And think about that. Think about, recently I lost my mother. God called her home. But I think about the influence she was on my life. And I think about some things about my own mother that I want to share right quick. And when my brother and sister and I talked about this, I never heard my mother say a bad word about my daddy. To us children. I'm sure maybe in private there was some conversation that I never heard. But my mother always bragged on my daddy. I remember one time when I was in the 6th grade, I was up for Mr. Skyview. I went to Skyview Elementary School, and there was somebody from each homeroom, like 4 of us. And they asked me who my hero was. And I said Winston Churchill. I don't know why I said that. I guess that time I was reading books about history or something. And my mother looked at me when I told her I had said that. And she said, "It should have been your father." And turned and walked out. I could tell she was disappointed. And that just, the power of her influence made me look at my dad in a totally different way. You know, Tyler, society looks down on mothers today, and I don't understand why.
I think it comes to, we talked in previous episodes about the lies of the devil. And that this war he's raging, we talked about on the gender roles in the family and gender roles in society, is because if there's no respect for a mother, I think that the values that incorporate a relationship with God start to deteriorate, because we're told about the relationship Christ had with his mother.
Mm-hmm.
We hear the story of Jesus' birth, and that's when we hear about Joseph. But we know from historical fact, from looking at secular history and through archaeology and several other things, that Joseph died between Jesus being 12 years old and 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph never saw Jesus' earthly ministry. But we do read over and over again Jesus' relationship with his mother, how active his mother was in his life, to the point that while he was on the cross, he looked at the Apostle John and said, "Behold your mother. Take care of my mother."
Because as the eldest son, that was in the Jewish culture, that was his job,
right.
Take care of his mother.
Right. And that he was making sure that she was taken care of when he was leaving this earth.
And does that not show us, Tyler, the importance that the Son of God put on motherhood?
Absolutely.
And the value of that relationship?
Absolutely. And then it also shows us why the devil is so eager to try to tear that away from society, to beat that down in society, to make it where it's almost shameful to be a mother in society's worldview.
You know, Tyler, as we were thinking about this podcast and getting our notes ready for this afternoon, I thought about this and wrote this little comment down. I really believe that the value of motherhood started to go down as abortion came up. Mm-hmm. The more abortions we have in the country, the less the role of the mother is valued.
And I think if you look through history, I think it's more. It comes from that too. I forget the gentleman's name. He's a doctor. In history and several and he's a Bible scholar and some other things. I've seen him do some talks and seminars before online. But he talked about that in the Old Testament, we read in the Bible, the first case of that is when Moses, is the story of Moses. Mm-hmm. The Israelites were outnumbering the Egyptians, so the Pharaoh ordered that all the Israelite boys be killed. And of course we know the story of Moses. His mother put him in a basket. He was raised a prince of Egypt. Later on led the people out. Then we read in the book, in the Gospels, that when Herod found out that the Messiah had been born, that a king had been born, that he ordered all the babies between 0 and 2 to be killed. And of course we know that Mary and Joseph fled to Egypt. So that's strike one and strike two on the devil. So what's he going to do on strike 3? Well, he's going to tell you that, well, the baby's not a person until it's born.
That's right.
And he'll eradicate not only the future, the future of the, what he's trying to do is eradicate the future of the cause of Christ. The next Billy Graham could be one of those babies.
Right.
The next, we talk about the some of the here's the next Dietrich Bonhoeffer could be one of those.
The cure for cancer.
The cure of cancer could have been one of them babies. What better way than to say that's not a baby, and you're not a mother. I tell you, every woman that's had an abortion is a mother. Mm-hmm. And I think that's when Paul talks about in the New Testament, mothers loses her natural love.
Mm-hmm. Well, when the scripture says that they will be without natural affection, it means that a mother won't love her baby.
Absolutely.
Which I can't fathom. Seeing the mother of my children, of course, growing up with my mother, and how could you have a mother that doesn't love her children? I was thinking about the role of mothers and how important mothers are, and I just had a little thought come to my mind. Tyler, blessed is the mother who can say, "Do you want me to tell your daddy?"
Absolutely.
Think about that. Blessed is the mother that can just look at her children and say, "Do you need me to tell your daddy about this?"
I'll add to that. Blessed is the mother that can wear you out and say, "Just wait till your daddy gets home."
That's true.
Because that means they're round too.
I was talking in a previous podcast, we were about the role of the father in the home and everything. And let me just say this. I believe one of the roles of the father is to be sure that the mother is honored. And of course, the first way he does that, I believe, is the way he treats her. Where the children sees the husband treat his wife. And the everyday goings on in the home, as they say in the old song, behind closed doors, what's really going on when there's no company in there and everything? Is he honoring the mother? Then secondly, not only in his conduct, but to be sure that the children's conduct honors their mother. And I was taught to honor my mother. I think about a lot of the whippings I got revolve around not honoring my mother and respecting her like I should have. My father taught us that. He enforced that, but he represented that. He honored Mama in the way he talked to her and the way he treated her. And we were taught that. And that's so missing today in society, that we're not honoring our mother. Think about it. Your mother goes to death's door, brings you in the world. She should be honored. And she does everything. I was talking to somebody the other day about, they're talking about their mother eating, and how Mama would always say, "Well, I just ate a little bit when I was cooking, if there's not enough food." And mothers do that all across our society. They should be honored. We should be taught to honor them. But that kind of goes back to the role in the home. Is the man fulfilling his role in the home? I know we're talking about Mother's Day, but I kind of come back to that. Is the man fulfilling his role in the home?
Well, you say that too about we go back and forth, and when we talked about a man's role, we talked about a woman's role as well, and we talk about a woman's role, we talk about a man's role. And I think about this: people will say marriage is 50-50. Well, that's wrong. I've heard people say, well, marriage is 100-100. That's wrong. I say marriage is 200-0. That's a rule we have in our house. That's 200-0. Meaning on a day that Miss McKenzie can't give but 45%, I got to make up the 65% that she can give. So I got to give 165. Mm-hmm. On days I come home and I can only give 25%, she's got to give 175%. Mm-hmm. And so I think that when we talk about a family, it's not man's role, woman's role, child's role. It's a team effort. Mm-hmm. And that's why God put Adam and Eve together in that place of, this is man and woman, but the two shall become one. And we had that conversation today. Is you're not a family of 3 or a family of 4, or family of 6, or as a family we know, a family of 12. You're a family of 1. The man and woman have become one.
That's right.
And the fruit, their children, until those children are reared and have gone out and created their own families, are a part of that one as well.
That's right.
And we'll continue these conversations as we continue the conversation on the role of the mother, and as we continue this series on the family. This has been the Back Porch View, brought to you by Appalachia Baptist Church, where the old rugged cross still makes a difference. Until next time, God bless and Jesus saves.